And welcome everybody to the Keith Barker channel here on YouTube. It's great to have you here. If you're new, I'm Keith Barker, and we focus in this channel on topics regarding Cisco Systems CCNA. Currently that exam number is 200-301, but I'm sure the topics are going to remain very similar as time goes on. So I updated my home lab a little bit. I bought some additional hardware. In fact, let me share with you some of the new toys that I've recently bought, and I did this with help from the group, so I appreciate all the feedback. This is not it. Where is that? Oh, here it is. So I recently got a 3750, which I'll be initializing and getting going. I got a couple 2911s. They're great. I got some access points. I got an IP telephone, and I got a little wireless controller. And these are the 5 3560s that I got that I debuted in a video or so ago. So I wanted to chat with you about when you get these things, you have to do password recovery, and I walked through password recovery on the 3560, and we also need to have, you know, if you want to update the images, you need to update the images. That's all in the previous video. But it's very convenient if you have exact models of gear and you need to update the other. If you updated one, you want to update the others, it's pretty cool to make one of those devices a TFTP server. So if you have 5 switches and they're all the same model, you can have one of them update the software there and then make it a TFTP server to do the uploads for the other devices. Let me show you what I did in the home lab here. Let me minimize this. Let's go ahead and get my pen. So here's what I have. I've got these 2 switches. In fact, these are the 2 switches that are right there. Just powered them up a few moments ago. And this guy is, and this guy right here, switch 4 is on the top and then switch 5 is below it. And I've got a crossover cable between these 2 ports. And so the crossover cable is handy because if you have switches that don't support auto MDICs, they'll automatically allow 2 switches to connect to each other. So from going to switch, you use a crossover cable, and that's what I have there on the gigabit ports on these 3568 port switches. And then on this port right here, which is like fast Ethernet 0/1, I made it a layer 3 interface, like a routed interface. And the way we do that on a Cisco device is, you're thinking, no switch port. You got it, nailed it. So I did a no switch port, and then I assigned it the IP address of 192.168.1.62 on my home network here. And then this is the computer I'm sitting at right here at .254. And in the previous video, maybe 2 videos, I walked you through how we could do an upgrade of the iOS on a device. In this case, it was a switch. So I did password recovery, and then I did the update from a FTP server. And what I'd like to do now is I have an image here sitting on switch 4, and I'd like to make that a TFTP server, and then actually download that image or send that image or copy that image over to the other switch. And that way I don't have to go back to my management PC. That way I can have my whole network behind this network right here, behind, not on the same 192.168.1 network, and still have updates and do all my work and everything else. Also, as a key point, it's important, I feel, that when you're building your network, don't just attach switch ports to your common network, because then you're part of the same broadcast domain. And spanning tree, if you have mesh Wi-Fi, it's already running spanning tree probably. And so by just making this connection a layer 3 interface with a no switch port on a switch, or on a router, it'd be a routed port, that'll help keep broadcasts from the home lab network away from your home network where you have your TV and Internet of Things and all those cool things. So what I'd like to do is, let me open up a console that goes to .62 from this management PC, and then from here, I've also set up IP addresses in VLAN 1 of 10.0.0.4 on this switch, switch 4, and 10.0.0.5 on this switch. And referring to those IP addresses, those are the VLAN interfaces on these multi-layer switches. So I'm going to telnet over to .62, and then from .62, after we do our work here on switch 4, we can telnet from switch 4 over to switch 5. And that's the plan. So let me bring up a console for that. And let's, it is switch 4 we want to go to. So switch 4, I'm going to click on load here. This is PuTTY, which is free, and that is 192.168.1.62. Click on open, and there is our PuTTY session to that device right here. So that's .62. We can verify that with a show IP interface brief. And there's its IP address on FA0/1. If we do a show interface status, that also shows us that that port that I'm connected to is a routed port. We did a no switch port on that interface, then I gave it an IP address, and that's how I'm connecting to it over my home network. All right, so also right here, it's showing us that on gig 0/1, which is this red cable, I've got a connection from switch 4 over to switch 5, and we could verify that with CDP. Show CDP neighbors, and sure enough, this says on my local gig 0/1, I'm connected to switch 5, and I'm connected to its gig 0/1. And I've also assigned an IP address of 10.0.0.5 over on switch 5 for its interface VLAN 1. So let's do this. Let's set up switch 4, which is the top switch, as a TFTP server. Let's do a DIR. And I've got this. I'm going to just highlight and copy that file name. That's the image that I'd like to put over on switch 5. And to make this switch a TFTP server, let's do a ping to 10.0.0.5 just to make sure we have connectivity. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Don't make me break out the console cable. Why can't we ping that? Let's do a show IP interface brief. We've got, oh, okay. I do not have a VLAN 1 interface on this switch. I thought I did. I have 5 of these switches. I've been going through them. So it's tough to ping. Let me scroll this in a little bit. It's very tough for switch 4 right here on its VLAN 1 interface of 10.0.0.4 to reach 10.0.0.5 if it doesn't have a VLAN 1 interface. So let's still go ahead and create it. So let's do a show VLAN brief. Yeah, all we have is VLAN 1. So config T, interface VLAN 1, IP address, it's 10.0.0.4 with a 24-bit mask. Oh my gosh, it's written right here on the screen, so it must be true. It's already on my whiteboard. And then we'll do a no shut just for good measure and show IP interface brief. All right, so it says it's up. That means sometimes you have a VLAN interface and you bring it up or try to bring it up and there's no active ports, no trunks are carrying that VLAN, no access ports are alive for that VLAN. It won't come up. So we do have a connection between right here, between switch 4 and switch 5. Now let me see if I can ping 10.0.0.5. Ah, thank goodness. I was like, if I didn't put that VLAN interface, I'd have to console into the console port of switch 5 and put it there. All right, good. So still sitting here on switch 4, the top switch, let's create a TFTP server. DIR, there's our flash file system. Let me make this a little bit bigger now. Ah, come back. All right. All right, so what we're gonna do is I wanna have this file, that 3560 IP services file, be a file available via TFTP services from this switch 4. So we'll do a config T and TFTP server, and then flash, and I'm gonna just, in my buffer, I had copied the other stuff, so my apologies. So TFTP server, flash, C, okay, C3, there we go. It's just gonna autocomplete. Boom. Now it's a TFTP server serving up that file for any TFTP clients. But it's gonna be pretty slow. TFTP is pretty, even though it's UDP based, it still is pretty slow getting the job done. So let's also do this, IP TFTP and block size, and I'm gonna go for the max block size of 8192. That way it's gonna be faster than if you just use the default block size, which it may be 512, I'm not sure what it is, but setting it to 8192 makes it go faster. All right, so we are do show run include TFTP. I just want to verify that we have, okay, so we have the block size, we're set up as a server, we don't need a username or password with TFTP. So I am going to save this. That way if it reboots, we'll still have it. And let's go and let's telnet over to 10.0.0.5. So if you put in the IP address, and without any other parameters, it's assuming you want a telnet, and boom, we are now at switch 5. Show IP interface brief. Yep, it's got a VLAN 1 interface of 10.0.0.5. And then let's do a copy, TFTP, flash. Before we do that, let's do a DIR. All right, I've got 10 megs free on flash, not enough room, so I'm gonna delete the existing the existing image. So if in a production environment, you want to make sure you have a backup and a backup plan for restoring it if it goes belly up while it has no image, because I'm about to remove the image just because I don't have space for 2 copies. So we'll do a delete of the existing. I'm going to do a recurse. I'm going to do a force. It won't prompt us. And then flash :C 3. There we go. Boom. And 1000. Okay. And dir. Okay. So it's done. It's gone. And now we have 27 megs free, which is more than enough. So now we're going to copy this guy right here. We're going to copy the image that's sitting on switch 4, and we're going to copy it down to the flash on switch 5. So we're sitting at switch 5. We'll simply do a copy TFTP space flash, and then follow the prompts, and we'll be good to go. We'll do a copy. And you can put in more details if you want as well. The more you put on that line, the less you'll have to do in interactive mode. So if you're scripting this, you'd want to do it all in one line. But since we're here, I'm going to do it manually. 10.0.0.4 is where we're going to get it from. And the file name is, when I highlight, it goes in my buffer. Okay, so Control C on that. And let me go ahead and copy that one more time. Now it's copied again. And it's remembering that from the previous time I just ran it. And source file name is going to be that. And the destination file is going to be the same. And then it's going to go for it. And hopefully it's going to fly. As soon as it starts giving us exclamation marks, those are blocks that have been sent or received in this case. All right, there we go. It's going. And that should take somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes-ish. And again, it depends on how big the file is. But when it's done, it'll have the image. So switch 5 will have the same image that switch 4 has. So that's a great way to set up a little TFTP service on one device where you want to copy files. And it doesn't, so you can have one router even and set up the services with various files to support other devices as well, as long as you have all the files on that image of that router. So that's a great way to distribute it if you don't want to bring up a TFTP server every single time you want to move images around inside your lab. Okay, while that's cooking, the other thing I'd like to chat with you about is the Feature Navigator. The Feature Navigator is great. They just updated it. It's what, the 20... What's the date today? It's the 9th. It's the 9th. In any event, they just updated it recently, and I think they're still getting a few of the kinks out of it, but I would like to show you the Feature Navigator so that if you go buy something on eBay like this, this one's coming in shortly, this 2911. So we joined the call, I think it was last week or last session. So we did the premiere, we went into the Discord channel, we welcome you to join us there today. We go to the CCNA voice room, we chat about ideas and things, and I got a wild thought, and I had some great help from Trevor and from Kelvin and from others in that chat room about, hey, let's get this and get that and play around with them. So let's imagine you do get some gear used off eBay. Also virtual with Cisco Modeling Labs Personal Edition is fabulous, so that's a great tool as well. But if you want some hardware and you can get it for a great price, that's fantastic. But as far as like, ooh, do I need to upgrade this from 12.2 to 15.5, or what's the differences as far as the features? For CCNA, it's very likely you're not going to need to upgrade, but I want to share with you how you can determine that. And so let's imagine we take the 2911 here and we think, I wonder what features that supports. So this says iOS 15.7. That's what it comes with. K9 latest version 15.7. So if we go to the Feature Navigator, I just did a search here. I just search for Feature Navigator. And in Feature Navigator, there's Home, Browse, Compare, and all of these, Browse, Compare, that's for current hardware. Current, the latest and greatest, like V-Edge and all that good stuff that Cisco's selling. But if you're getting something off eBay, some older gear, just for hands-on practice, you'd want to go to legacy data, and then we could base it on the release of software or the platform. So if I was curious, hey, on that 2911, what features does it have? We could go to legacy data, platform, and then I'm going to select iOS. So if you're brand new in Cisco, there are several flavors of operating systems that run on Cisco devices. But in CCNA, we're starting off with iOS, period. And I'm not talking about Apple, just Cisco iOS. So we'll select iOS, and then down here where it says platform, after I selected iOS, it took, I don't know, just now about 4 or 5 seconds before that became active. And so I was looking at this the other day. I was like, why isn't it? Oh, I just have to wait a second. So you put in iOS, you put in the platform, and then you scroll down to your platform. So the platform that I'm going to look up, wow, bringing back memories of some of these older pieces of gear, is a 2911. Let me just check my eBay real quick. That's a 2911, great. And then it's asking for the major release. So you can select, like, I think mine came with like 15.7, but let's imagine it said it was 15.2. So you put it in if you want to know what features are there. And then for the release, if you're targeting a specific flavor, like you bought it off eBay and it's got this version of software, you want to find out exactly what features exist. And then for the licensing, I'm going to go ahead and say, I think it said security, had a K9 in there, but I haven't got that gear yet. It's coming in this week or week and a half. So when it comes in, I'll check on it exactly. And then we click on download data. And it'll download, it's an X, I'm going to open it up right here. It has an XLSX extension, so you can open that up in Excel, which I happen to have installed, or if you have web-based products like Google Sheets, I believe that'll open it up as well. And at the bottom, there's 2 tabs. Available images, because I just selected that one that shows here. And there's supported features. How many lines are there in this? Wow, it's over 1,200, 1,342 rows there. So, 1,300 features. Most of these in your career and working with IT and networks, you're never going to run across most of these. Many of them over and over again, and a few of them occasionally, but all of them never. So as a case in point, let's do this. I'm going to do a Control F for find, and let's take a look at some CCNA topics like DHCP. And then so DHCP option 82 supported. That's great. And I just hitting the next button here. And DHCP server options, fantastic. And option to ignore all boot P requests. And DHCP relay and MPLS VPN support. DHCP ODAP server support. On-demand address. I don't recall what ODAP is. DHCP relay accounting, and the list goes on. So basically, if we are concerned, does this support DHCP? The answer would be yes. If we want to do a search for NAT and press enter, NAT supported, NAT VRF aware NAT, performance enhancements with NAT, stateful failover for embedded addressing with NAT. Again, many things you won't need as a CCNA, but this is just an example of what the feature, wow, so many features, what the feature navigator can do. You can actually specify based on the iOS that you got, what features exist, and if it has all the features you need, and you're just practicing, you don't really need to upgrade. So, for example, 15.2 or 12.2 or 15.7, if they have the features that you want to practice with, any one of those is going to be fine if it's iOS. All right, so that's that. Let me go back to my console. And it's done. All right, so there's our little switch 5. We do a DIR. Now, and it said it took 217 seconds. Alexa, what's 217 divided by 60? 3.6 minutes it took with TFTP. Not too bad. Not too bad. I thought it took longer. Like I said, when you're watching it, like watching a pot boil, it takes longer. All right, so that's what I wanted to cover with you and chat with you about in this short video, was if you have a home network or a home lab for Cisco and you want to have an easy way to manage your images that you have for those devices, you can have one of those devices that's accessible by all the others act as a TFTP server. We walked through that. I also chatted with you about the password recovery. That was in the previous video for a 3560 switch. Just follow the password recovery steps for all the various platforms based on the one you have. Cisco has it well documented. And also the feature navigator. So I've had a lot of fun in this, this video. Other topics that are coming up that I think will be interesting are Ansible. That's about 2-3 weeks away to get into Ansible. Also, Kahoot. Kahoot. I am buying a license, a premium license for Kahoot. And I thought what we could do, and I'd love your feedback on this, is have some competitions with Kahoot online, real time, where they're based on blueprint items from the CCNA. So we might take a specific sub-bullet like IP routing or OSPF or IPv6 static routes or some specific topic. And what I'll do is create 7 to 10 questions, probably diagram based, that we can do in real time. So I have been working in the background getting my live streaming gear back up to speed. I've been having some glitches and issues. I'm going to get all those worked out, and so we can do it live. So it'll go something like this. We'll have a live stream that'll have the Kahoot presentation with the join numbers. If you're not familiar with Kahoot, we'll have a little tutorial on that as well. And I think we can support up to 2,000 people at a time, so we'll be good for a long time there. And what I'll do is I'll create some questions based on specific CCNA topics, because people have been asking, hey, what about flashcards? And how do I think we can get the best of both worlds. We can have some time together in this community. We can have some time practicing with the Kahoot questions that I will custom create for CCNA. And then if I discover that we have challenges or opportunities with various questions, I can take a moment right there during the Kahoot and talk about those briefly, or I can use those as fodder information for, in the future, I'm going to do a video on this topic because there's a lot of people who maybe need a little bit of help with that aspect. All right, well, that's all I had to say. I'll see you in the next live event. Thank you so much. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.